What's up everyone, welcome back to yet some more Reddit stories about Karens, crazy people, and all that kind of stuff. So be sure to subscribe for more Reddit content if you haven't already, and let's get into today's stories. Daughter blames me she can't get off the hook after breaking into a mansion. So I'm not sure where to even start with this, but here goes. I'm a 47-year-old male. My 22-year-old daughter got arrested recently for breaking into some rich people's houses and stealing. It wasn't just a one-time thing. She and her friends had been doing this for a while. They'd gotten lucky up until now, but their luck ran out when they broke into a mansion, triggered an alarm, and the police caught them. It didn't help that they weren't wearing masks, so the cameras caught everything, outside, inside, every angle. Here's the thing, she could have been shot. There was security at that mansion, and I honestly don't know how she made it out of there without that happening. The cops showed up before anything like that could go down, but she was arrested along with the others. I've already helped pay for a lawyer, but the evidence against her is pretty airtight. They have her on camera breaking in. She had a part-time job and she's been living at home, so there's no reason for her to be doing this. I have no idea what made her think this was a good idea in the first place. Now she's looking at potentially going to prison and could be kicked out of college because of this. She's going to plead guilty because, well, she did it, and there's no way around that. What's been really eating at me is that she blames me for not doing more to get her off the hook. She's mad at me like I'm supposed to magically make all of this go away. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. She made the choice to do this, not me. Like I said, there's no logical reason for her to break into wealthy people's mansions and steal their stuff. She had a good job, was in school, and was heading down a good career path. In fact, the money she used was just for things she wanted. My wife and I paid for her school, clothes, and all her needs. We don't even make her pay rent. There's no reason for her to turn to crime. I want to support her as best as I can, but she's an adult. I can't fix this for her, and honestly, I don't even know if I should. I'm just at a loss right now. So it kind of sounds to me like OP's daughter is still in the mindset of just being a kid and expecting her parents to bail her out of everything. I mean, that much is obvious when she somehow expects her dad to just fix this for her. And she's not even taking responsibility that it's obviously her fault. It sounds like OP already did everything he can do. He's paying for a lawyer, but beyond that, his hands are tied. So what does she really expect from him? I guess it's going to be a pretty harsh wake-up call when you realize that when you're 22 and you break into a mansion, you're going to be tried and charged as an adult. Who would have thought? Got a plumber arrested. A plumber appeared at my home. I was not expecting any plumbing services. I opened the window to tell him that he has the wrong address. He then started to try and convince me that he is at the correct address. We went back and forth. I kept telling him that I have no idea why he was led to my home, but he needs to leave. He would just stand there staring at me in silence, then spew some more bullcrap as to why he needs to check my water heater. I then woke up my sister and she went to the window to talk to him. We are an all-women household, so we were very uncomfortable with the man refusing to leave our home. She threatened to call the cops if he doesn't leave, and he still remained. He then said that he can only leave if we come outside and give him our signature, so that his company knows that we gave him permission to leave. I asked him for his name so that I could call the company, but he just stared at me in silence. This is when I called the company on his truck to ask them if this is normal behavior. They said it's not normal and that there should be no one at our address. I really did not want to call the police. I was attempting to avoid any escalation of the situation. The man backed his truck out of my driveway and was just sitting in my neighborhood. This is when I called the cops. They came pretty quick, but then I saw that they arrested the man. The police didn't follow up with me, but I checked the incident reports online, and apparently this man was only arrested because of problems with his driver's license. I think that he was working for the company because the vehicle was picked up by a woman and not towed away by the police. I feel really guilty. I know that this man was acting very suspicious, but I hate to think that he genuinely had the wrong home and got arrested over something completely irrelevant. I almost regret calling the cops on him, but I felt very uneasy that this man was refusing to leave my property after us practically begging him to just leave. It's fine, OP, there's no reason for you to feel bad for what you did. You had a pretty good reason to call the cops, I'd say. That sounds extremely suspicious and unnerving. And even if this was an honest mistake, then why wouldn't he just leave your property after you asked him to? And if the company didn't have you on record to go to your address, then there wouldn't be anything for you to sign either. It should just be a simple nope, wrong address, and leave it at that. So the fact that he was so persistent about you coming outside to sign something is very suspicious. So I don't really get why you'd feel bad about this. Even though they arrested him for something not related to the police call, it's still his own fault. He made this situation himself and is the reason they got called out in the first place. So what's there to feel guilty about? Try to extort, harass, and ruin me? I'll make sure you're rightfully convicted of disability fraud. I lived in an illegal rental in a place you'd call a landlord's market. There was a housing shortage, and although I had a great job, no credit problems, no background issues, it was impossible to rent somewhere affordable because of my dog. I eventually found a great place, but it came with a nutty landlord. She lived on the property. I'm not a choosing beggar, however, so I take it. For 12 months, I endured the landlord's violation of my rights, taking deposits she should not have, micromanaging my personal life and my guests, and it's pretty awful. She's always high on painkillers with tiny pin needle pupils, telling me weird crap and trapping me in conversation I'd rather not hear. Faced with homelessness, I take the trampling of my rights and privacy. She made me miserable. After a year, I had enough. She crossed the line when she had my boyfriend removed by the police when I was at work one day. He had been staying less than 48 hours. I was gone for 2 weeks at home and had arrived back to my rental 48 hours before this. No one was in my rental while I was gone. On top of tossing my boyfriend out, she delivered a bill for his, quote, rent and utilities for staying the past 2 weeks that I was gone. No one was in my house. She already bullied me. I guess she thought she could extort me. She created fake court paperwork to intimidate me. The bills I receive from her are insane. They are not the writings of a lucid human. She gets all sorts of details wrong and makes personal statements that are inappropriate. The place was empty and I was gone, but she wrote a bill and insisted I pay for his tenancy. This is when crap hit the fan. I finally stand my ground. Extortion is the limit. Everything is falsified. I think it was the Vicodin talking and making her brave. As an aside that will be super relevant, her employer had an open fraud case against her. She told me early in my tenancy because she dared them to come after her. Perhaps she should not have dared so hard. After the fake tenancy debacle, crap gets real. I take off work to read up on my rights and protect my dog and stuff. She starts harassing me. Specifically, she did these things over the course of a few days. 1. Called from a blocked number and asked for a stripper/call girl. 2. Called my work as a new landlord seeking a reference and told them I was partying, why I wasn't at work. 3. Came into my yard at 11 at night, stomped up on my porch to scare me, then walked out of the yard saying it was a free country when asked what the hell she was doing. 4. Called the Humane Society, told them I had a vicious dog on the loose who attacked her dog. 5. Called the police and sent them to my job. I work with kids, claiming she found drugs in my house. Needless to say, I was pretty freaked out by all of these things. I got a temporary restraining order against her. She couldn't keep trying to ruin my career and get my dog euthanized and attempting to intimidate me. It was good for 3 years. I was happy I won in court. It was a great move for my safety and empowerment. However, when I did move about 10 days after her extortion, she falsified documents, kept my deposit, and I was forced to go back to court to get my money. Again, I won, and although it took a lot of time and energy, eventually it was garnished from her account. I not only got out of my lease, rightfully, but took my deposit money back against her will. I had a restraining order for 3 years, and she did not know my new address. I was thrilled. The torment she put me through was unbelievable, so let's cut to the revenge. Remember that fraud case she boasted about? Well, it came back to bite her. She boldly did construction on the property high as a kite on Vicodin while collecting disability because she was, quote, wheelchair bound. See the issue here? She played the system to get into paid early retirement, ate pills all day, increased her property value by building up her space, and collected money from illegal rentals. 4 months before I moved out, she was doing construction and I had a strange feeling I should document her fraud. I knew she could turn on me at any point, and well, I'm sure glad I had the foresight to do so. She had gone to work the first day of her contract and fallen out of a wheelchair on a ramp that was not up to code. Almost 4 weeks later to the day, she was happily at home continuing with her activities, building a tool shed from scratch. She was doing construction, with no wheelchair, duh. She was bold and figured she could never get caught. She was doing all sorts of physical activity. I decided to film her and make sure the date was noted. I also took pictures. Some part of me just knew I should document what I was saying, because she was an awful human who was leeching off the system. And yes, OP did provide us the footage of her constructing the shed and doing obvious heavy labor, while supposedly being wheelchair-bound. Here it is. She worked in education and she couldn't be fired. Her position was tenured and she was holding her spot while on medical leave for over 4 years. They legally could not hire a new teacher. Substitutes poured in and out of her classroom. Hundreds of children missed out on a legitimate education because she held her spot. She was scum. I worked in a similar field, so I knew what damage she was doing with her actions. Back to the eviction and temporary restraining order event. Shortly after moving out when the restraining order was in effect, I went to her employer and offered evidence in his fraud case. It was a serious state-led fraud case against her. They were going after her. He was elated that I had such strong evidence. He put me in touch with private investigators. I handed over the evidence after sitting down with them and giving my statement of her activity and how she was mobile at home. I didn't have to exaggerate and I didn't have to lie. I just told them exactly what happened. Even if she didn't burn me, I felt like I was doing my civic duty by ensuring the kids had a real teacher in their classroom instead of this piece of garbage. Months later, I called the investigators and found out my evidence was what really sealed the deal. She was convicted of disability fraud. She was fired from her position and was potentially going to pay back years' worth of disability payments. I did that. I am the reason her scam fell apart. She thought she could bully me into extortion. She didn't. She thought she could ruin my career and hurt my dog when I stood up to her. She didn't. In fact, I won. It was what I needed to be empowered after she shit on me. It wasn't even revenge as much as standing up for myself. If she did have to pay it back, she'd only have her house to pay with. My dream is that she lost her house, ended up a renter, and just hopes for a kind landlord. Anyway, friends, that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button. And also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more Reddit shenanigans like this. So I'm out of here. Take care, and I'll see you next time.